Alright, folks, welcome back to the Bnq and Goof Show. I am Johnny Bnq Jividan, well, as always with my co-host, Nick Goof Goff.
What's up, guys?
Huh?
So, what's up, guys?
Oh, thank you. Very, very nice, warm greeting, as per usual. Anyway, let's get started off. Last week, as you remember, me and Goff had a debate about the best football players from our states. I said Randy Moss from West Virginia. You had Franco Harris from New Jersey. And the results of our fan poll was a resounding landslide for Randy Moss.
Was it really?
Yeah, there were 0 votes for Franco Harris.
Oh, that's a surprise.
And there was 1 vote for Randy Moss. So, a shutout. We'll get into our next debate topic at the end of the show. We're going to start off this week's show with some NFL picks for this week. Do you want to start off with your 3, Goff?
All right, no problem. That works out. All right, we'll start off with the Monday night game, even though it's Sunday.
It is Sunday.
I got a upset on the Lions beating the Packers.
I don't think that'll be that big of an upset. I think the Lions are actually a pretty solid team.
I think they could I think they could actually make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think they could win the North. I could see that happening.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah, they're all pretty close.
Yeah.
As far as the teams, except for the Vikings, they're not that good.
So sticking in the North, we'll go with Philly over Minnesota. So
Yep.
Minnesota catching that L.
Yep.
And then
Not being good this season.
I have the Niners winning and staying undefeated
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
the Rams.
That's crazy that they've remained undefeated. I didn't think they'd be that good. They were one of your breakout teams this year, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
Yeah, and I didn't think that. You were right. Good looks, Goff. We'll get into my 3 picks. I have Atlanta versus Arizona. I'm picking Atlanta in that game. I know Atlanta hasn't been good at all, but neither has Arizona, so
I completely agree.
I'm going to pick Atlanta there. I mean, you got to think about it. Even though they've been terrible this season, they're still basically the same team that went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, as far as their personnel.
I just feel like mentally they just haven't gotten back ever since they gave up that 17-point lead.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, so I picked them in that game. KC Houston. Now, this would have been an easy pick last week when KC was undefeated, but they just lost to Jacoby Brissett and the Colts last week. So, it wouldn't be crazy to think that Houston could win. That being said, I'm going to pick Kansas City to get back on track against Houston.
I'm going to go the opposite of you and call Kansas City downfall this year.
Oh, do you think it's the start of Kansas City's downfall?
Yes, it is.
That's an interesting take. We'll see how it plays out.
I mean, the way it looks is that it looks like all you have to do is play man coverage and you're fine, and double Kelsey until Hill gets back.
Their run defense looked awful.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But anyway, moving on to my final pick, I got Cleveland versus Seattle. Now, Cleveland, of course, was really hyped up this year, and they sucked as per usual for most of the season. But I think this could be a turning point for Cleveland. I think if they win this game, then they could maybe claw their way into like a wild card or something.
You never know, because both of the teams, Ravens and the Browns play the Pats this year, so they're both taking that L to the Pats. The division of the AFC North is very trash. Vegas had them as a +2, and it got all the way bet up to half a point. So basically, pick 'em. Now, this game, I don't know how it got to a pick 'em, but after the showing that Russell Wilson gave last Thursday night against the Rams.
Yeah, Seattle's been a pretty tough team this year. I'm going to pick Cleveland, just kind of a gut feeling.
Yeah.
If they win this, their season turns around. I think if they lose, it's basically going to be like their collapse.
Now, if they lose, I feel like Russell Wilson is building his MVP candidacy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He's having a great season. Probably one of his better seasons of his career.
Oh, yeah, by far. As long as he doesn't throw a pick in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, he's got to make it there first.
Nobody will ever forget that moment.
Especially not in Seattle.
Oh, hell no.
Alright. So, before we get into what's going to be the bulk of our show, a quick comment. A couple episodes ago, or whatever it was, we did NCAA predictions. Of course, those have been tore apart by guys switching weights and taking red shirts. So instead of going over it again, me and Goff sat down and made our top 8, and we're going to just put that in the description of the video below. So if you want to check that out in the video
Feel free.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. The bulk of this show is going to be our NBA preview with the NBA season starting like next week, basically. I think the 22nd is the first day. So we're going to do the whole 9 yards, awards predictions, playoff predictions, finals predictions, all that good stuff. So we're going to start off with awards predictions. We're going to start, you want to go, we'll do MVP last. We'll do Coach of the Year first.
Okay.
For Coach of the Year, I got Lloyd Pierce, coach of the Atlanta Hawks, of course. I like the Hawks. I think they have a potential to do good in a Eastern Conference that's definitely weaker than it was before. So they have a potential to make the playoffs. I think if they do, he could definitely be a Coach of the Year candidate.
That's only if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, of course. Which is possible. It's not crazy.
Not crazy at all.
Make like a 6 to 8 seed range.
They could definitely slide in at the 8.
Yeah.
I had trouble picking out the 7 through 8.
Yeah,
teams.
for the East. Yeah, I had a problem with the bottom of the East too, because there's so many teams you could slot in.
Yeah, so it's very tight. My Coach of the Year is going to Doc Rivers.
Ooh, Doc Rivers.
I feel what?
You're thinking probably coach of the best team.
I think
team with record.
I think Clips win the West.
Yeah,
and that gets him the Coach of the Year.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Let's go to most improved player. There's 2 different guys I thought. I couldn't decide which. I thought maybe either Andrew Wiggins, who's kind of had some down seasons the past couple seasons after winning Rookie of the Year. I think maybe he gets back, back in the groove of it a little bit, I guess. So I thought either him or maybe Carmelo Anthony if he gets signed, which I don't really understand why he's not signed anywhere. I mean, I think he's still good enough to at least play.
At least one more season.
Yeah. I mean, even if he doesn't start, he's good enough to be on the roster at least.
Yeah, he's good enough to be a bench player. A 6th man.
Yeah, for sure. So, I thought maybe if he comes back, that might be a most improved.
Interesting.
I mean, just because, he basically didn't play at all last season.
No,
he's on the Rockets for a little bit, but...
Yeah, for like a month.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go off script here, and I'm gonna say Suns. I'm going to name 2 Suns players that could be most improved.
Okay, interesting.
I'm going to say Devin Booker improves his defense and gets most improved. Because you know his scoring is phenomenal.
Yeah, of course.
And then my other son is DeAndre Ayton.
Rookie last year, number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, rookie last year. He had a good year. I think he keeps improving. I think the Suns
Yeah.
can be a playoff team, and obviously the bottom of the West, not the top.
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
slide in 7 through 8.
That's a real tough.
I just figure with all these high draft picks, something has to turn out.
Yeah. Eventually. Yeah, you're right. They're probably one of the teams with the most potential. Potentially. But yeah, those are some solid picks. Let's go to Defensive Player of the Year. I got good old Rudy Gobert of the Jazz winning back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year.
Interesting.
Just because I didn't know where to go. I thought I might go like Paul George or Kawhi just because they're the best perimeter defenders. But I thought Defensive Player of the Year usually goes to more like a rim protector, a guy that gets a lot of blocks, stuff like that. So, and I figure Rudy Gobert is one of the best shot blockers in the NBA. So I figured I might as well pick him.
See, I figured that Kawhi wouldn't play enough games to make it to any of the rewards.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Definitely not load management up there in LA.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go with Paul George winning the Defensive Player of the Year. He was a
Paul-
nominee last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Paul George will miss like the first 10 games this season or whatever.
I mean, that's not bad. That's not like Kawhi will miss like half the season.
You think?
No, like a solid like 30 games if they play well.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah. You know, dark horse for Defensive Player of the Year, maybe Patrick Beverly. I mean, he's definitely one of the better defenders.
Oh yeah, by far. People just don't give him enough attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because that's really his specialty. He's not really much of a scorer, to be honest.
No,
but
he's a true defending point guard.
yeah. I mean, that's what they got Lou Williams 6 man for.
Oh, well, that's obviously the 6th man of the year right there.
Yeah, that's why we didn't even bother
Yeah.
putting 6 man into our predictions, because, I mean...
He's a true starter
Yeah.
on any other squad. But it's actually really good to have him on the bench coming
Yeah.
when
Because
your
all he does
starters
is
are
comes in, shoots. If he's not doing good, just take him out. I mean, he's a 6, he's not a starter, put him back on the bench. If he's hot, and leave him in. He'll score 20 or so points.
And not all benches have that, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a big asset for the team. Move on to Rookie of the Year. I mean, this one's kind of obvious too, or at least from an early vantage point. You gotta think Zion Williams.
No.
You don't think?
Nope.
Have you been watching the preseason?
Yeah, it's been Dunkarama.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
killing it. I mean, of course, preseason isn't exactly a indicator of how good a
No.
player or a team will be, but I mean, it doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt. But I don't think he's going to be that good. I think he's overrated, tell you the truth.
Wow, hot Nick, hot take Goff coming in.
I'm gonna go John Morant.
Ooh, John Morant. Yeah, he'll definitely be expected to carry a heavy load there in Memphis this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Especially since they gave away Connerly.
yeah, that makes sense. So interesting take there, Goff. Let's finish up the awards predictions with, of course, the biggest award, MVP. I went with Kawhi for MVP because I didn't consider what you mentioned, load management, which I think he'll be in there enough games to be considered MVP. Like I said, for MVP, I usually think best player, best team, and I think the Clippers might be the number 1 team. So that's where I went with my decision to pick Kawhi. Where did you go with it, Goof?
I'm gonna go with LeBron James.
Interesting.
I just think that what he's averaging, points, assists, rebounds, nobody else is doing that in the league right now.
Yeah. Well, except Russell Westbrook.
I mean, yeah, Russell Westbrook, but Russell Westbrook doesn't win.
Well, that might change.
Well, now it might change this year, but it's either, in my heart, it's either LeBron James or James Harden.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Of course, James Harden's always in the conversation.
Oh, yeah, by far. He's one of the best scoring guards out there.
One of the best scoring guards ever.
Yeah.
Really. He'll definitely go down one of the top 10 all time, I think.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to Basketball Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. So, yeah, that's a pretty solid pick there, Goff. Let's get into the meat of these playoff predictions. Let's start. You want to start West or East?
Let's start the week East.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I'll go first with my top 8. I struggle with the top 2. I think there's 2 teams that are the obvious top 2 teams in the East. The Sixers and the Bucks. I went Sixers 1, Bucks 2. I flip-flopped back and forth which ones I wanted to have 1 and 2, but I went that way. I got Nets 3, which I know they don't have Kevin Durant, but I think that the East is weak enough that with just Kyrie and DeAndre, they could maybe get a 3 seed. Plus, they have some solid supporting cast there too. 4, I got the Celtics. I think they really are about the same overall as they were last year. I mean, I know they lose Kyrie, but I think they're probably about the same overall. I got Pistons 5. The dynamic duo of Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, Derrick Rose is coming back a little bit. So I think the Pistons could be pretty solid in the East. And like I said, I struggle with 6 through 8 in the East just because the bottom is so weak in the East. It's really hard to say who could break in and who won't. So I decided I went Heat 6 with Jimmy Butler. I think that he could lead him to like a 6 seed maybe.
I'm not even mad about that.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. Think that'd be interesting. I forgot about him in the Heat.
Yeah, I think he's good enough to carry them to a 6 seed. They probably won't get past the first round, but we'll get into that in a second. Then I had Hawks 7. I think they got a young core with a lot of potential. I think they could sneak into the playoffs on a low seed. And I got Raptors 8. Because, I mean, they're a finals team last year. They really only lose Danny Green and Kawhi. So, I think that's still good enough to make the playoffs, no doubt.
Interesting. All right, I'm going to read you off mine.
All right.
I got the Bucks winning it.
Yep.
And they still won't make it to the finals, in my belief.
Well, you have them winning it, but you're not making the final. You mean you have them as a 1 seed?
Yeah, I have them as a 1 seed. I'm just doing the top 8 right now.
Right.
Like, they'll win the conference before playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I have the Nets sliding in at number 2.
Well, you got Nets too.
Yes.
I didn't think you're that high on the Nets.
I think the East is just so weak that they have a good chance. And their division is trash.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then I have the Raptors at 3.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes, this is where it gets shaky. So, I have the 76ers at 4.
Wow, all the way down at 4.
Yes. I think they'll have a good postseason. I just don't think they'll have a good regular season. They have to pull together the parts.
That makes sense.
Now, I have the Pacers at 5.
Oh yeah, the Pacers. So, yeah, I meant to mention the Pacers in mine. I didn't put them in. I think that they'll barely miss the playoffs, just because their best player, Victor Oladipo, is going to be out until like January. And I think that's going to really hurt them. Maybe they can make it up.
They did a good job without him last year.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like they have nothing without him. I just think that definitely hurts them.
That's why I picked the Raptors number 3, is because they had a they had a good record without Kawhi Leonard in the lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So then at 6, I have the Celtics.
Yep.
And then number 7, I have the Pistons.
Right.
And then sliding in, now this could go either way. I couldn't really decide on a team.
Right.
But if I had to pick a team that would have a breakout season and make the playoffs, for them at least, is the Washington Wizards.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes.
That is really interesting. Yeah, I didn't think outside the box that much.
I mean, with the 7 and 8 seed, you kind of have to think outside the box because that's how it usually ends up happening.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely correct. You're definitely right about that. Before we get into the West, you brought up a good point about when you talk about the Sixers. In the NFL, when making playoff predictions, it's the number 1 seed is the team that you think is the best in that conference. NBA, it's a little different. It's an 82-game season. You could have a team come in at like a 3 or 4 seed. That's really probably the best team in the conference. Just their record's a little off because maybe they had a slow start, maybe they didn't gel together right away, maybe had a rough injuries in the regular season or whatever.
Yeah.
So
look at this. I picked the Steelers to have a breakout year, and look what happened. Injuries on top of injuries. It's just, especially with 80, that's a 17-week season. Yeah. Now with the 82-game season, it's like 3 months or something like that. It's the same thing with hockey. People are in, people are out. It all depends on how the main group does together and how they pull together.
Yeah, so basically my point is these standings aren't exactly who we think is the best teams, is just how we think it could play out. And then the best teams will show up throughout the playoffs. But anyway, that was just a little point I wanted to make real quick. Let's get into the West. Despite what I just said, I think the Clippers will still be a 1 seed.
I completely agree. Completely agree with that.
I mean, like I said, even without Paul George and Kawhi, they were an 8 seed last year. And just adding them is just going to be a big game changer, I think.
Oh, yeah. By far.
They're solid top to bottom. Another team I considered giving the number 1 to, because just they have probably the best chemistry and the best, not the best players, but from like 1 to 15, the most solid group of guys in the NBA, and that's the Denver Nuggets. Who I have it 2. And I considered putting them number 1.
Oh, shit. I forgot about the Nuggets.
You don't even have them in your top 8?
Nah, but now I do.
Yeah, well, I'll drag mine out a little bit so you can make your...
No, I got it. You go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I forgot about the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, they're a solid team. They were just they were real close to making the Western Conference Finals last year.
Oh, yeah, Jokic is an animal.
Yeah, he's probably one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I think we've mentioned that before. But I think they definitely have potential for 1, but I'm going to put them at 2. That was another one I kind of struggled with. Another 2 I struggled with, I didn't know how I wanted to do it. I put Houston 3 and Lakers 4, which I literally just switched right now as I was reading my list. And because I couldn't decide, I keep switching them back and forth. Because I think the Lakers will get off to a little bit of a slow start, and that might hurt them in the playoffs. But, I mean, I think they could do potentially better than Houston. But, I mean, they're both really solid teams. And coming in at 5 is a team that before I thought could be a 3 seed, but just the other teams are so tough. The Jazz, Utah Jazz, I got 5. I mean, that's a really solid team, but it's going to be really tough for them to...
They're a defensive team.
Yeah.
A really strong defensive team. And that's good in the West because there's not that many defensive teams out there in the West.
It's probably the Clippers and the Jazz are probably 2 of the best.
Yeah.
But so I got them at 5, but I think they could. There's a potential that they could be higher for sure. 6, I got the Blazers of Portland. They made a Western Conference Finals last year, and I think they got better even than last year, but just all the other teams got so much better that they're going to be all the way down a 6 seed. But the West, not so much in the East, but in the West, you could see some first-round matchups where teams are getting upset, but it's not really a big upset. Like a 7 seed could be a 2 seed, or a 6 seed could be a 3 seed, or whatever. And it wouldn't be that surprising in a first-round playoff series. So that's just how tough the West is. 7 seed, I got Warriors. They lost Kevin Durant, but they're still a really solid team. So I don't think, and like I said, 7 seed Warriors could beat a 2 seed, whoever it is, whether it's Denver or someone else. That's not crazy to think. Moving on, 8 seed, I got the Spurs. 8 seed was tough. There's probably a whole bunch of teams in the West that could vie for the 8 seed, but I went Spurs just because, they got the best coach in the NBA, so it's hard to bet against them making the playoffs. So I have to slot them in there somewhere.
All right.
Let me hear your picks, Goff.
My picks. I'm gonna go with Denver number 1.
Nice.
All right.
I like that whole lot, Goff.
Yeah. We're gonna go Clip City number 2.
Yep.
Lakers number 3.
Interesting.
Rockets number 4.
Yep.
Spurs number 5.
Ooh.
Now with the Spurs have the longest running streak of making the playoffs in the West. I think it's like 20 years or something like that.
Yeah, something crazy.
Yeah, something really crazy, outrageous. They just keep making the playoffs. They just could never get over the hump.
Yep.
Number 6.
Well, not never. They didn't win.
Not never. 'Cause they won it when they had Kawhi.
Yep.
And Tim Duncan.
More. Yep.
So, number 6, I have Golden State.
Yep. That's not crazy.
Number 7. See, I want to put the Blazers in mine, but
yeah, but you're a Blazers hater. I get it.
I am a true Blazers hater. I don't think they're good.
I don't understand why they get so much hate.
I don't like them. I just don't think they're good.
Yeah.
If
Goff's one of the few people that really hates the underdog story.
I don't hate them. I just don't like them.
Just in this instance.
I just don't like Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I don't know who Damian Leonard is, but
if he missed that shot against Russell Westbrook, the OKC would have won, and Westbrook would have probably still been on OKC's team.
Yeah, it depends what Paul George does. Still, but.
Yeah, that depends on what Paul George does, but I figured Paul George would have stayed if they went further into the playoffs. But that's only my opinion. So I will not have the Blazers in my top 8. Now, the 7 and 8 are all. Well, both of them are underdogs to the T. We're gonna go with the Timberwolves.
Ooh, 7.
Yeah, 7.
Ooh, interesting.
And
that could go with a most improved player, Andrew Wiggins, huh?
Yeah. And then I'll go with my most improved player with the Suns making the 8 seed.
I'm not going to lie, Goff. I was prepared to hate whoever you put 7 and 8, but I don't hate those picks. I don't at all. I thought you were going to say like Dallas and the Pelicans or something.
Hell no.
Yeah. Okay. That's not terrible. I like those picks. All right, so we're not going to go round through round of each of our playoff scenarios, but why don't you lay on me, Goff, who you think's going to the finals and who are you picking, and we'll throw in how many games.
All right. Well, this is why I ranked the 76ers so low. I have them making the finals. I just don't think they'll have a good regular season.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's not crazy.
Now, with the West, it's a little more difficult. I always like upsets, especially in playoffs, because usually I'm betting for the underdog to win. So, right here, I'm going to take the Rockets.
Ooh.
Yeah, very hot topic right here. Now, to win, I'm going to say the Rockets bring home the title in 5 games.
That's interesting. 5 games, a gentleman's sweep.
Yep. I just don't think that the 76ers have the scoring power that the Rockets have.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely a lot of the best offensive players are in the West. I mean, just the best players in general. But, yeah, that's not crazy. I also have the Sixers making it out of the East. I have really struggled who to pick out of the West. But my gut's telling me to go Lakers.
I was thinking that. The Rockets and Lakers were my top 2 on the West making the finals.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be crazy if it was the Clippers or even really just any team in the top 8. It wouldn't be crazy to say that they make the finals, but I'm going to go Lakers on a little bit of a gut feeling. And then I'm going to go Lakers in 6 or 7. I think that they definitely make a game of it. The Sixers do. But I just think you got 2 of the best players of all time. Two of the top 5 players in the world right now, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. I think that's going to be tough to overcome.
So I have them getting knocked out by the Rockets. So I have them making the Western Conference
Finals against the Rockets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I had the same. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I got. I think it's hard to predict. I mean, it's definitely going to be crazy. I think this is probably going to be one of the best NBA seasons in a while, just as far as the competitiveness. Because the past couple of years, it's just been the Warriors versus whoever.
Whoever the LeBron James team is.
Yeah. And then last year it wasn't even that because LeBron James' team wasn't that good.
No, but it was good. It was a good watch if you were watching the East.
Yeah.
Like, those playoff games were intense as hell.
Oh, yeah, especially the 76ers versus Raptors. That was a great series.
Oh, yeah. Or even the Raptors versus the Bucks.
Oh, yeah, for sure that was, too.
That was a great series. The Raptors went down 2 games, came back, swapped them.
I didn't think they were going to be able to beat the Bucks.
I picked up a bet on them winning it, and it was like plus 1,000, which means very unlikely.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. But so I'm definitely excited for this NBA season. That's why I want to make this mostly NBA preview show. Can't wait for the season to start next week. I think the first game this season is... I can't remember off the top of my head at all.
Well, the first game is Clip City versus Lakers, so I'll be tuning into that. Yeah, that's the first game of the season for those 2 teams.
Yeah, that'll be awesome right off the bat. Yeah. I mean, of course, Paul George won't be there, but...
Patrick Beverly will.
Yeah, Pat Bev, probably Kawhi. You never know.
And Lou Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Can't forget about him.
Yeah, you can't forget about any of those guys. It's going to be a great game, great season. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get to our last topic of our go on to the second installment of our debate series of best professional players from our home states. Last week was NFL players. This week we'll be following the theme of our NBA preview, NBA players. And I got a real doozy for you, Goff.
This just makes it unfair.
I have Jerry West, a West Virginia native. Anyone unfamiliar with Jerry West? Oh, no big deal. Yeah, not a big career. Oh, except he's the logo of the NBA. The logo of the National Basketball Association.
The logo of the NBA. Oh my God. For something he did way back when it was just all white guys playing basketball.
That's not true. He was on a team with Will Chamberlain.
Alright. But like 95% of NBA back then was all white guys.
Well, you know what, Goff, don't make this a race thing, first of all.
I'm not making it a race thing, but I'm saying Will Chamberlain might have been a better basketball player than him.
Well, this isn't a debate of Will Chamberlain's a better basketball player. Who's your best New Jersey player? And plus, there's tons of great NBA legends from West Virginia, but Jerry West just...
You just want to go with the one I can't really compete with because he's the NBA logo. But
yes,
I'm gonna compete.
Precisely.
I'm gonna compete with it. I'm gonna say Shaquille O'Neal from New Jersey.
Oh wow, that's
up
really
in
tough.
North.
He has a lot of great accolades.
Great accolades, couple titles.
How many times was he NBA logo?
This is really what it's gonna come back to every time.
Was that a big zero, Goff?
Yeah, I'll take the L on that. Fine.
Jerry West has a 1. That's one more than any other person in NBA history. So that's pretty good, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Also went to 10 NBA finals.
Oh yeah. That's cool. How many did he win?
Also NBA Hall of Famer.
They're both Hall of Famers.
Yeah, well, duh. MVP, scoring leader, probably some point. Averaged like 27 points over his career.
All right, well, Shaq is the best big man who ever played the game.
Or really, what about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
In the modern era, you dick.
Well, we're not. You said ever. So.
Okay, he's the best big man in the modern era.
Okay. What about Anthony Davis?
Shaq. No, because the league literally moved off from going inside to be going outside, which means shooting three-pointers.
Yeah.
I still think Shaq is better than Tim Duncan.
That might be right. But that's not the debate, so. Anyway, like I said last week, there's no point in me and Goff going over and arguing and debating this because we're both going to say Shaquille O'Neal or Jerry West respectively. So, in Bnq and Goof Show tradition, we will leave this up to a fan vote. So leave a comment in the video who you think is a better NBA legend, Shaquille O'Neal or Jerry West, and we will reveal the results of this on next week's episode. And it's obviously Jerry West because he's a legend.
Whatever you say.
He's also one of the best GMs of all time. He's a GM for the Clippers right now. Well, not a GM, but president of basketball operations. He's the one that got Kawhi and Paul George. So, what has Shaquille O'Neal ever done for a team after he?
Okay, so before we end the show, I just would like to say that let's switch things up a little bit. I'm gonna talk about my Fly City Flyers. Starting off good to the season. Starting off 2-0. Took a nice L last night in shootout. Bounce back season. I know we don't talk about hockey on this show, but it is what it is.
I forgot hockey season even started.
Exactly. Hockey season is here for all those hockey fans out there. I was trying to do some rankings, but Big Jimmy doesn't watch no hockey, so it is what it is.
Oh, you wanted to do rankings? We could do that, I guess.
Oh, okay then. We'll do that next show, and then we'll do best hockey player from West Virginia.
Yeah.
Best hockey player from New Jersey.
Next week we'll do a little bit of an NHL preview. Spoiler alert, I don't know that much, so mine will be ridiculous.
Sounds about right.
This episode, Goff sprang something on me last second, which is usually what I do to Goff. So a little bit payback there, I guess.
No, what they say about payback.
What do they say?
It's a bitch.
Oh, okay. All right. I think that's all we got for the show this time around. Thank you for listening. This has been the Bnq and Goof Show episode number 5. Our best episode ever, as some will come to say. Perhaps.
Have a good day, folks.